about it, so.
Okay, so we call the meeting to order today, on Tuesday, April 15th, 2025.
Yeah.
Can we start with the board, please?
Yes, Chair Corrigan,
Here.
Vice Chair Couture. Here. Commissioner Young,
You're,
Commissioner Valadez. Here. And Commissioner Morris.
Here.
All five are in attendance.
Commissioner Valdez, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
We don't think we have any public comments. So, I think we'll move on to, the agenda. So the first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the March 18th, 2025 meeting. Does anyone have any instructions? Comments? Would anyone like to move to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Chair Corrigan,
Yes.
Vice Chair Couture,
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yeah.
Commissioner Valadez.
Yes.
And Commissioner Morris.
Yes.
That is unanimous.
The agenda is the dog park survey results. I believe there is a staff report.
We want to do that all.
Or no?
Yes, so background on this item is the former dog park subcommittee that was created out of the Parks and Rec Commission was tasked with gathering input and observational information from the Mackenzie Dog Park that's currently in place. The subcommittee will now present their information and summary and data observations that were gathered.
Are there any clarifying questions for the staff report? All right, there's no public comment. So, Commissioner Morris, I believe you're going to be.
So I'm thrilled to be sharing the final dog park report. This has been a long journey. I've been working on it for over 6 years, or about 6 years. I've been on the commission about it. But dog parks have a history of over 16 years of discussion and effort being put forth to bring fenced in or any sort of dog park into Los Altos. So it's an accomplishment that we're here right now today talking about this. It's this time and place and the process is a direct result of a number of commissioners that have worked on this, as well as staff members, residents who showed up at meetings, gave input, and the city council members also. It's all about all of us working together, and that's how we accomplished it. And it's a good example of how a community working together can get things done. So first slide, the project objectives. So next slide here. Thank you. We were tasked with, and we being the subcommittee that started out with John Corrigan, myself, and then Commissioner Valadez joined later. We're tasked with observing the usage inside and outside of Mackenzie and Hillview Park. We had conversations with users and non-users of the park. And when I say we at this point, I'm really referring to Commissioner Valadez. She tabulated all the data using an Excel spreadsheet. And it allowed us to analyze the data and come up with some final conclusions. The observation times were random, but the information that we gathered was not random. It was done on a sheet of specific points that we were to observe that Director Hernandez provided us with. So the next slide, please. Casey, can you put it in presentation mode?
It is not letting me because it's a PDF, not,
Oh,
yeah.
never mind.
There we go. I'm sorry, I was playing with it, but it
It's all right.
won't.
Okay. So the park success assessed, as I mentioned, were McKinsey and Hillview, but we were also tasked with looking at the parks that were nearby. So Lincoln and Heritage Oaks are the two closest to those two parks, so we did observations at those two as well. When I was observing Heritage Oaks, so I was tasked mostly with McKinsey and with Heritage Oaks. And Commissioner Valadez took on, Hillview and Lincoln Park. And when I was looking at Heritage Oaks and making, walkthroughs, drive-throughs, there really was no change in Heritage Oaks and any behavior from what we had seen when we were running the pilot program in the baseball field here. So at one point, I just said, this is silly that I'm spending my time going over here to see the same thing every time. It's a heavily used field there by soccer and other sports, so there wasn't a lot. It was sort of the same dogs off leash, so I did a basic observation of it. Commissioner Valadez, I did spend a lot of time at Lincoln, observing it, and she had spaces that she would observe, and it's in this report for the addresses. It was 168 to 108 University Avenue. So you can see those details in the report. So basically, we did all four parks, but we focused on Hillview and McKinsey. Those were the big ones. Tonight, we're going to be focusing mostly on McKinsey, because Hillview is basically done. We moved ahead with it. The space is figured out. The plan is figured out. I think it's going out to bid. So we have Hillview in here because we want a complete report, but it's about McKinsey mostly. So for McKinsey, when we started, there were a few hiccups, and they were very minor, but they did affect the use of the park. So I thought it was valuable to mention them. For example, when we started the observations there was a handball wall. That handball wall meant that people couldn't park in that area. Sometimes they would because no one was playing handball and they didn't know that it was a handball wall. Those spaces weren't marked other than to have sort of faded "don't park here," but they were used. So the parking would change periodically during the times I was observing. Sometimes we had so many, this many spaces, sometimes we had other spaces. So we came up with sort of a standard amount of spaces and used that. Handball wall went out, so the parking changed at that point. The parking varied frequently there just based on whether it was a weekday or a weekend, based on if people were parking when they were working, or on the weekends they weren't working. Then pickleball also had an effect. There was a water spigot that had a leaking problem for a while. It took a while for staff or maintenance to be able to figure out how to get that fixed permanently. They think it was fixed and then it would, rear up again and be a problem. Some dog owners would not use the park due to that leak because of the mess that it would make, but also any kind of bacterial concern that some have. So once it was fixed, that was a non-issue. The gate handle originally wasn't accessible for some, so once that was changed, that changed out, that also changed how that space was used. In addition, there's a circle area in McKinsey that has AstroTurf now. It started out as chips. Once the chips were taken out and the AstroTurf was put in, that changed how it was used. People didn't like the chips because it got stuck in their dog's fur. So there were some just adjustments that came on, which is what that was all about, was to find out what worked and didn't work in McKinsey. The other part of McKinsey is off-leash remained consistent on the east end, which is what I call the back end, but it is the east end. So dog owners that had their dogs off leash never stopped taking their dogs off leash back there. That was just always the case. We even got an email today regarding that, but that's still an issue for the neighbors down there. So something to be noted. And I'll tell you that was sort of observed in all of the, when we were doing all of the parks, this off-leash was still happening despite having a leash, a fenced area.
Teresa, can I make one comment?
Yeah.
That is correct. I would note that, however, the off-leash behavior at both Hillview and McKinsey, given the tradition of it happening at McKinsey in particular, it still remained a small, it was a pretty reasonably small minority of all the users of the dog park.
It was.
So thank goodness, it could have gone the other way. That could have been, hey, we don't want to be there. Let's go off of that. And we didn't.
Yeah, no, it did remain, it always was a small group at McKinsey, it remained a small group at McKinsey. Winter weather at McKinsey didn't have as significant impact as it did here at Hillview. So McKinsey has a lot of trees, so it's very protected. It took longer for McKinsey to get messy with mud. It also has mixed surfaces, so people could use those mixed surfaces. Some people didn't like the mixed surfaces, some people did. That's kind of how it works in the world with, when you're trying to, work with a lot of different people and styles. It was not by any means a robustly used park in the winter if it was muddy. So it died down in the winter, but it was not completely abandoned in the winter months as Hillview would be. So Hillview, it became mud, nobody used it. So there was a difference in those two parks. So the next slide for McKinsey. As I said, we're moving ahead on that. So this is really an information slide. And to give a complete report, but there are a few points to highlight. Hillview had a 10% rate of after curfew usage. So of all the usage, 10% of that usage was after curfew. So meaning that when the park was supposed to be not available to use, there were people that were using it. It appeared that it had to do with people's work schedule, school schedule, reactivity, level of the dog. So people would come and use it when it was quieter or when they could get there. Also, there's more lighting at this park, at Hillview Park, than there is at McKinsey. McKinsey's dark, so there's not a lot of reason to be in the McKinsey dog park. It's kind of creepy. To have people there with their dogs in pitch black almost. So with Hillview, again, the weather was a factor in it. And the other interesting thing, and I mentioned this before when we talked about this, was Hillview had a lot more unattended food that was left. So people didn't clean up, whereas McKinsey had very little of it left out there, left behind. So we found that kind of an interesting thing. And let's see, next slide, please. So, as noted, Heritage Oaks dog use was consistent to our earlier observations. Lincoln had both on and off leash use when the observations were made. Hoop was always picked up immediately after the dogs would squat and do their job. And so people were very tidy there. It's a very busy off-leash and off-leash park at this point. And in fact, it's a higher use than Hillview Park is.
It is the highest use off-leash that we observed.
Right. So just because we were supposed to observe these other parks, it's important to note this. Next slide, please. So this is the aggregated data slide. I'm hoping I get this right. So Commissioner Valadez used a binary metric when she did this slide. So that means that you may see that there's we're calling them violations, only one violation noted. But what you need to understand about that is it was one day of violation. So if we stick with poo as an example, there may have been 6 piles of poo, but we're noting it as one violation because it was that day there was violation, period. Okay, and it would be hard sometimes to tease apart like what the files were, so I won't get into all of that. But at any rate, you need to understand that. However, in the Excel spreadsheet, which we will be providing, it breaks it out by day and how much of everything. So just for this slide, we're looking at it in a little bit different way. So that first little purple box with the gold on top, those are the violations by type. So that's for all parks. So it's total of all the observations. When you move to the right, you have the violation types by park. It's broken down. So you can see each park's what the violation was in each of those. Then the long box below that, you'll see that it tells you the number of dogs that were in the dog park by the day of week. The interesting part about that was we could never see any reason why, say, one Tuesday was busy, but the other Tuesday wasn't. There was no pattern for us to be able to say, like, Tuesdays are the busiest days, Saturdays it was never clear as we did our observations that was the case.
Even things like community events or soccer games going on, things like that. Sometimes there was nobody, and then sometimes there were 6, 7 dogs, and we could not come up with we could not tease away some correlative factor causal factor to say the population changes because of these reasons.
Research signage in all these parks, I know there is for Hillview, saying through the rules.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, they were put up right away. Yeah. Next slide, please, the weather one. As mentioned, the weather did have an effect. It made it not usable here in Hillview because it was muddy. The grass went away and it just kind of became a mud pad in the winter. So obviously, the turf made a difference. McKinsey, as I mentioned, didn't fare as badly because of the asphalt and the turf area on it, the astroturf, so that wasn't too bad. You can see pretty clearly on this slide, it's pretty simple to see that if it was windy, if it was overcast, what the numbers were, how many people showed up with their dogs on those days. So overcast didn't really seem to have a big effect, cold and rain did. So next one, population totals. For this one, the interesting fact that stood out to us was the difference. It was sort of a flip between Hillview and McKinsey. You'll see the circles. So basically, McKinsey had a higher percentage of dogs in the fenced area and fewer violations of dogs elsewhere in the park. But then flip it, Hillview had a higher off-leash violations outside the park, so more dogs off-leash outside compared to inside the fenced area. That's the basic big takeaway on this one. Again, there are a few other points on the side there, reasons for why people weren't there due to the mud or the turf not being even. That was often something that came up. And
The other observation I made at Hillview is that there's just a lot more foot traffic from downtown into the neighborhood and out. And while there is foot traffic at McKinsey as well, as Teresa reported, it's a lot. And there are just a lot of people walking their dogs outside and on leash, totally legal. So it was just interesting to see the flip. So I think that has to do with location of the park versus anything. I mean, it is true that the quality of the Hillview became unusable lately, but even above that, I think it's just a lot more people.
more foot traffic. Thanks for.
More densely populated with all the condos and stuff.
Good point.
Yeah. And down here.
Yeah. Everybody has a dog.
Thank you. So for parking, I want to be really clear. These were informal observations. We did not do research. That's not what it was about. We aren't a research team. We were there to observe. So just to make that really clear, what stood out was that people use the dog parks no matter the parking situation. That seemed most important at McKinsey because it's limited parking. There's only so many spaces there. Here at Hillview, we have a ton of parking spaces. So it didn't seem to have as big of an impact on the usage of the park as maybe one would think. However, of note is that we can't be 100% positive, particularly at McKinsey, because let's say someone had a dog, they drove to McKinsey, they got there, the parking lot was full, they would not have stayed, they would have left. We didn't get any reports from that. No one ever told me that when I chatted with them, and I don't think the city got any of it, or we would have heard about it. So it's an assumption. It may not be an accurate assumption.
There was a lot of walking traffic.
But I noticed at McKinsey, a lot of people did walk. So it was a neighborhood use of the park. But there were people like this lovely father and son duo that would come, and it was a nearby place for them to meet. And so they did drive there. And so there were other people like that would drive, but mostly there was a lot of walk. So, final comments, the mud as mentioned, was an issue at both parks. Definitely we need something that isn't natural turf, which we've already talked about as a commission. The fenced areas did not really change the off-leash behaviors in the park, so there were still off-leash dogs. Janine and I, or Commissioner Valdez and I felt like there is opportunity for us to look at potential programming for, how to inform and educate dog owners. All right, probably mostly dog owners, because dog handlers should be professional and know what they're doing, or could be. And on that note, Commissioner Valdez noticed that dog handlers that use the park did seem to provide some benefits to the dog community. And maybe we can actually build on that as we go forward and get these parks implemented. As a, as a commission, it may be something that we want to do, some pop-up or something. People did enjoy hanging out. That was one thing I noticed at, McKinsey, that people have said, it builds a community, and it does, it builds a dog park community. And I noticed that at McKinsey, people would stand around, they'd talk, and hang out and enjoy the area. So it didn't seem to be an issue that some people would have their dogs, people would have their dogs in the fenced in area, and other people would come up with their dogs not in the fenced area or without a dog and be chatting and stuff. People wouldn't vacate the dog parks, go out with their dogs or leave the dogs behind and then hang out outside the fenced area. So it seemed like the fenced area for who it worked for worked well for them. I want to take, just a second, that's the end of the slides, but, a couple of things. We did get an email as a commission regarding, concerns about the off-leash, use in the park still. So there's still a population of residents that is still struggling with these fenced in areas. They don't care for them. They aren't happy with them. I think it needs to be acknowledged. We have that. We are moving forward on these fenced in areas, and I think it would be good for us to make sure when we get to McKinsey that we talk to everybody and bring them in the conversation and make sure they have input on how they think it might work best.
And there was an irony though, while we had those issues, we also had the kind of the counter issue, which is we didn't like off-leash dogs either. So
Right.
it's like,
It's the same thing that's been going on for 16 plus years in the conversation. This isn't new. So I just always think it's good to try and align and help people who don't like it to come along and give their input as well. So, last thing is, it's just been an honor to serve on this subcommittee and, to work with all of the amazing commissioners and staff members, past and present, and city council on getting this move forward. And look forward to the next. So, and many thanks to Commissioner Valdez, because she did all work, a lot of work, and I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you both for such an amazing presentation and for that. I can't even imagine the countless hours you both devoted to this. So thank you so much. And I had no idea it was 16 years. That is amazing. So congratulations to both of you for getting it to a conclusion. Does anyone have any questions or comments or thoughts? No, your presentation was so complete. You
I think I'll
addressed
get caught.
everything. So,
It's commendable.
it's very commendable.
Thank
So
you. It's been a team.
this has been fantastic. Director Hernandez, do you think that we should do a motion to accept or receive the report, or is that?
That would be fine.
Okay, okay, great. All right, then, you don't have any questions or comments or stuff?
No, well, I will make a comment that if there's any questions on what's going forward, we have not completed this year's capital improvement maintenance project budgets. But in the works is more upgrades to that facility at McKinsey. We already understand, as Commissioner was telling us, that we have plans already for the dog park here. So so that subcommittee, thank you for doing the work. And we'll take this information into account when we talk about the upgrades that we'll be doing over there. The upgrades at McKinsey are, it's somewhat not, it's not exclusive to dog park, because we have pickleball there, because we have other park usage there, because we have the yard there. So some of those upgrades will help from the other projects like pickleball, will help in the dog park too. But it's good information and we'll take a look at it as we continue to upgrade our parks and our facilities.
All right, well, before we move on, thank you again. I mean, this is amazing. I'm sure that there are many other people who've been on commission with you, who aren't here, who would also commend you and thank you. So I just get the privilege of thanking you myself, so. thank you.
And I would like to remove the,
I will be incorporating, Commissioner Gordon's data into this.
Okay, perfect. Oh, then getting it to,
1 year, so then we'll have the full 3 years.
cool. I'm sure staff would love that. So, okay.
Actually, there's two more points. One is the noise. I forgot to mention that at McKinsey, and to comment on what, Director Hernandez said, people really like the McKinsey Park. The bumps just were a few at the beginning, but people are happy to have the park there. So they like it overall. There's some discussion on the surface. The noise is kind of a non-issue at McKinsey because pickleball is very loud and the traffic is very loud. So the barking dogs, there was less than I expected, but you could hear some like a block away, but it was rare. And pickleball drowns it out for the most part. So that was one thing of note for McKinsey. So noise, I forgot to mention. The other thing is you'll notice the years. I did my observations earlier than Commissioner Valadez. It did because she came into the whole thing later. So we did them at different times, but it really doesn't make a difference because we had 2 dog parks. There wasn't pressure on one dog park as opposed to the other, so it was an observation.
The close word is in existence. I'm concerned that Councilmember Meadows once said, you know, we're gonna overburden one park and then skew the results we have to. We had 2 the whole time, it's just that one was observed in 23, the other one was observed in 24, and then the other 2 were kind of observed in the mix.
Fantastic. Great. Well, thank you both again. Fantastic job. We'll move on to the next agenda item.
I'll move to receive this report.
Oh,
If you want to do that or?
sure. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll move to
Second.
receive this report and again commend and thank all the committee members that worked on it and those that aren't here.
Is there a second?
Second,
Chair Corrigan,
Yes.
Vice Chair Couture,
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Valadez.
Yep.
And Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
also unanimous.
Thank you. All right, so on to the next agenda item, the farmer's market food. Director Hernandez, did you have a report that you wanted?
I'll introduce our,
Okay, all
we're
right.
doing this one,
Okay.
yeah, no problem,
Thank you.
commission representative for the farmer's market booth, which is Commissioner Young. Has information and received information, I received it as well. We have, it's typical that the commissioners go represent and table, if they say, one of the booths at the farmer's market that will be starting next month. I'm looking forward to the fresh strawberries that will be sold there. And so we usually get a day or 2 over the months, to spend the 4 hours, 4 a week, at this booth. And the commission will decide what will be the activity that we do. And when I say activity, that means information giving out, are we recruiting commissioners, to open seat, information that staff would request that is being pushed out to the public through that booth. But with knowing and understanding, I just wanted to explain what goes on there. Commissioner, if you want to go ahead and talk about the 2 dates that I think they gave us.
yeah, June 12th and September. But, I think what I've been thinking about is just what you said, you know, what do we put out there? What's available and, you know, objective, right? And it seems to me the key objective is to solicit information from the people that go to the farmer's market about suggestions or, you know, comments, you know, that type of thing. And one of the things I thought about to help with that is to have little giveaways, right? And you have a sheet of paper saying, you know, your comments or values or something along that line on park, the recreation letterhead, that type of thing would be, you know, your help, you know, to do that. So if people wrote something out, you give them something. Thank you very much. You know, if it had a Parks and Recreation logo on it, it would even be better. right? So, anyway, it's just a matter of gathering all that together. I understand there's a banner also for the table.
It's a
So there's
table
that.
cloth.
You know, the other thing is, you know, just off the top of my head, are there balloons that we could put up, to get people's attention?
Yeah, we can work, we can actually, to expedite the discussion, I think we could actually work on all those details, decorations, giveaways and stuff like that, because we don't have any at this moment. We may have some next month that Parks and Rec can hand out, that the Art Commission may have brochures to hand out, stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
so this commission as Parks and Arts, will have stuff and information to give. I think the main thing that we usually do in stepping into this is, one, is we do have the first date, which I did put on the report, which is June 12th. So June 12th, being that the second date is in September, I believe, so that's so far off. I think scheduling September would be difficult on the commissioner schedules. I would say if you schedule at least 2 people, to do the shifts, if usually you have 2 and 2 people doing 2 hours and then 2 people.
That makes sense.
To break it up, that's what, the
4 to
commissioner
8,
said.
so there's 4.
Yeah, so if you can work on scheduling that, maybe it doesn't have to be scheduled here, but at least
Sure.
getting people thinking, that's probably the best way to do it. And then once you have people there, the other thing is, what is on the table right now for Parks and Arts that we may want to, the commission may want to push information out, that staff may want to, and I'm here to participate in this discussion, because, I mean, there are some big projects that are coming up right now, such as the dog park, which is right there, the emergency operations center. These will all be completed in the fall. Well, actually, will be completed in the fall. So these are hot topics. Other topics are our summer programs. Parks and Rec wants to push those things out. The call for arts, stuff like that. So I think whatever this commission can talk about and just throw out ideas, and then you focus a little bit, especially with the timing in June, this is what we want to do, push out to the public. While taking into consideration, do we need information from the public right now? Is there anything we need on art, on programs, on stuff like that? I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything, but that's a discussion I think we should have.
I like the idea of having the schedule of everything that Park and Recs Department has going on. This from now until fall is a great idea. Because a lot of people don't really know all the things that happens.
Yep.
And the more we like the concerts, the movie, the family fun days, all those things would be good. I mean, it just could be a one-page Excel, one-page sheet, Word, or it could be a QR code that they can just put on their phone and then they can save it that way.
I mean, I love your idea of a suggestion box or something like that, and you mentioned QR code, which made me think survey. One of the things that the Art Commission did is periodically over the years, there were 2 or 3 surveys that were done. One of them was done by somebody who wasn't on commission. But that's potentially something that we could do. We could do a survey, whatever we want to measure, whatever you want to measure.
Yeah, it would be hard, I think, to measure anything, right, because it's, hard to control.
Yeah, yeah.
From a scientific point of view. But I would think it would be kind of a general sense to say, we want your input, what are your ideas about, something that moves out to us that we could do better, or something that, something along that line, and that way you're not inviting people, it's just like throwing a fish net out, you don't know what you're gonna get
Yeah.
until you pull it back in.
So I like to go to workshops, even in Mountain View and other cities, because I just like the process. But I recently went to the library outreach on remodel, the interior remodel. Did any of you folks go to that? It was actually quite good, because if you think about remodeling the interior of the library, it's a big space. They could have come up with 50 questions to ask the audience. But the consultant that what they did is they just made post-it note boards, but they limited the questions in each area of the library to like one key question. They knew they were bad, and I talked to the woman that put it together, and she knew she was leaving things off the table, right? That could be important. but she really cultivated that one or two, in some cases, key questions, and literally asked at the top of the board, you know, and was somewhat provocative. And then people grab a Post-it pad, and there were tons of Post-it pads, and they just put their opinions down.
Yeah.
And, at first, she was afraid that people would be shy. And I was there because I was talking to a lot of people, I was there for 90 minutes. In those 90 minutes, it went from blank pieces of paper to overlapping Post-it notes.
Mhm.
And they were all answering that specific question. So you talk about it's hard to control, it still is an uncontrolled input, but at least it's focused around that issue. And I think if we did something like that at the farmer's market, or maybe we decided to ask 2 or 3 questions, and we actually had Post-it boards,
Right.
and just let people answer.
Oh, no, actually posted on, at the booth.
Post it.
Yeah, they posted
Yeah,
at the
that's
booth,
interesting.
and then they write their little answer or their suggestion, or thing they like or they don't like. And, you know, some people started standing the answer over 3 Post-it notes and then hanging them like that. I mean, it was awesome how much feedback she got.
People are probably more likely to give their feedback versus filling out a piece of paper
Yeah,
to put
and
on the board.
it's kind of like a Socratic method,
You've
rather
got
than
some
you're
Kind of
focusing your
Post-its,
thoughts.
right? And
Yeah.
They write
And you have
something
like a
down and you put
whiteboard.
it on the board.
Yeah. I've seen
That's
that happen,
interesting.
do
So
that in
it was
companies.
the most productive
Yeah.
outreach workshop that I had seen, and random people would peek in and see all these Post-it notes, and they had no intent, they were no stacks, and they ended up coming in and participating. It was very compelling.
Another idea for you.
Okay.
I was thinking, so I've tabled with staff at the, event before the Park and Rec staff. And there are flyers for every event, and there's a bin that they're usually in, and so I don't know if we'd be taking something like that, or if we'd want to take something like that, but that takes up part of the table. And there have been giveaways that have been done, so I guess I was wondering, would staff be joining us on this, or is it just the commission? That's one thing. And, the other is that it seems like since we've been on the art, since we've been a combined commission, art and culture, that it would be nice if we asked the question, if we had a way of getting feedback very specifically about, say, what sort of artwork people like, what kind of sculpture. I mean, it feels like if we could come up with a question that was to do with that, maybe it would help inform us about what people want to see around town, like what they like. So maybe there's gonna be pictures of different kinds of artwork and people can kind of vote about this kind of that. I don't know, just because there's always sort of chatter about what people don't like, but it would be lovely to see what they do.
Well, one of, that would be great if we could do that, but one thing that I look at is what are people's behavior at the farmer's market? Right, and typically they're socializing with their friends that they see there, okay? And they're walking up and down, but they're not spending a lot of time at places, right? They're going from one place, so time is important, right? In the sense that you can only capture so much, right? Of their time, which is probably just a few minutes, right, before they do something, so. It's not clear to me that we can accomplish what you're suggesting, even though that would be great.
So what has happened when I've done the events before with staff is that there's an activity and it stops people with their children. They come and they hang out and they do the activity. So it's an art activity that they might be doing, so they're coloring or whatever it is. So if we had something like that, it would get people to stop and actually, have a little fun with their kids when they're there. So that does change the dynamic of people just kind of rushing by.
One thing that I've seen work, is when the art commission did have an activity, and parents stopped, and so that, we didn't, I think, ask them to fill out a survey, but that would be one example of how it work. Another example is hiring, the balloon lady, have balloons there, and then maybe talk to the parents while the kids are getting their balloon made, so just another idea for
How
you.
much budget do we have?
No. No, we have nothing. To answer your first, portion, this is for the commission. Staff usually does not, attend for the full amount of time,
Okay.
but we do support it. We'll be supported. So the basket that you're talking about, we will bring that out. Before 4, get you all set up, get your tablecloth, and we will either work out a pickup for it at the end. Usually about 7:30 is when cleanup, because most of the place is clear by then.
Could we get some easels?
Well, it depends. So the staff, it depends on what you want to do. So we could get easels. If that's the case, we'll look for easels. And you're talking about capturing people just like at expos and conferences and stuff. It's always one little trick because people are jumping. They don't want to be sold on something that they don't want. If I'm there to buy strawberries and asparagus, I'm not here for this.
Yeah.
However, if I see a roulette wheel spinning around.
Yeah.
That, for some reason, captures me. I mean, even at the conferences I was at, they're getting a little more savvy with this. They actually brought in one of those claw machines. And I'm like, man, I don't wanna go, I do not wanna go and look at, $500,000 playground equipment. But they had a claw machine over there that you go and grab little footballs out of. So I went over there and it got me just for a few seconds and then, hey, where are your new projects, blah, blah, blah. So any little thing just to get them for a few seconds, you may not get them there to sit long enough with their kids or otherwise to do an art project, because that's not what they're there for. But if you can get them there to spin a wheel that'll give them a squishy football or something like that. Or it's like, hey, if you put this in here, we'll give you a chance at the wheel, and all we want is your answer to this question. Yeah, oh yeah, I think what is the greatest part of Parks and Recreation, we'll do more of, boom, 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 they put it in the box, they spin the wheel, and then you hand off something.
Yeah.
So we can work on that, and like I say, without a budget, it makes it a little more challenging, but Parks and Rec, we're always spending money on marketing things as small as a pen that has Parks and Rec on it, to something like a Bluetooth water bottle. We have a bunch of those too, so not for everybody, but if you put it one time on the wheel and somebody hits it,
Yeah.
you can give out 9 or 10 of them. with it. So
Fidget
we
spinners.
have fidget, we have fidget spinners, we
Do
have.
you have a
the
roulette
frisbees.
wheel?
Yes, we do.
Oh.
It's a big wheel, that's it
I
called, big
like
6
that.
wheel. It's a big 6 wheel, it's not a roulette wheel, but it stands on an easel and you spin it around. And you just put in whatever, somebody would have to actually do the work to write down what that prize is in that
Yeah.
section, that little triangle.
Yeah, that's
But
perfect.
that's it. So that's a tool that we've used many times just to get people to us. So Casey and I will take this stuff out. I'm already volunteering. But we'll support it. We'll take it out, we'll pick it up, we'll give you the right information and whatever else is decided on as far as information going on.
Okay, that's, so it sounds like we've got pieces.
Yeah, like I was
We
saying.
just need to put them
You
together.
just need to have an idea of what, when you're asking one question, that's a great thing. And like I said, just in my head, I was putting it all together with relation to the wheel. But what is the objective? I mean, are you just trying to tout that, hey, hopefully we get a bunch of information that we're the best parks and arts, commission or system?
Create awareness of
What is-
what's being offered, the list, right?
I like the list, if we have the list,
Yeah,
and then the roulette wheel for them to like get one of your little prizes.
yeah, and then just the marketing side to it as far as the brochures, what we have, art, the Parks and Rec. Because there, I mean, things that are already there, but they're out there, to sort of create awareness. Okay, and I think it did that. Yeah, those are the two
I
things.
also think that we should, if we are gonna ask questions or seek feedback, it should be relevant to the stuff we have on our work plan. But it could be a source of outreach that could feed into board contact. Well, now that I'm done with this stuff, my next thing is pickleball thing. With the, director, assistant director,
Deputy director.
Deputy director.
deputy director, sorry,
Working with
Jamie
the
Chin.
program.
Right, and, dive into the whole pickleball thing, so I would love nothing more than to be out there at farmers market, probably take more than one, and start talking to people about that, because the community's out there.
That's a great idea, because it is on our work plan, and it is gathering, pickleball at McKinsey. That could be a question, if you wanted to.
So, as a suggestion, do you all mind putting your ideas down?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, I've been taking notes.
and then,
I already put, send David email.
thank you, okay. And then we could put them all together and then work with it. The one thing I have to say, I'm leaving the country May sixth, and I won't be back until the 29th.
Do you want everyone to send their emails to me and I put it in the list for you?
That would be great.
Okay.
You
Then
said
we
5,
don't
6,
violate.
so
our-
5.
Go back.
Yeah, just send them to me
And then
and I'll
I'll
put them in a list for,
Yeah.
for Commissioner again.
And maybe what we could try to do, is to send you our suggestions or our notes
Mhm.
by Friday of this week.
Okay.
And then you could get it to David maybe next week.
Yeah.
You have plenty of time if you want to follow
I
up.
have, yeah, and my days are very flexible,
Okay.
so it's not like, oh, I'm working, and, oh, I only have this narrow, and I'm leaving, no, so I could work on this full time.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Then, would it make sense for and it possibly working with Dr. Hernandez to come up with a proposal? And include schedule, maybe in our note to Casey, we should say what hours we would be able to volunteer for. And then maybe have a proposal that maybe Director Hernandez or I, or somebody, one of the commissioners, maybe Vice Chair, could present at the May meeting so that we all know what we're supposed to be doing. Does that sound okay? Does
That's
that
fine.
make sense?
Yeah, once we get
You're
the
gonna be
information.
here for the May?
No.
No,
Oh,
he's not here for the May meeting.
I know.
Right, which is why you
No,
should
that's
suggest
why
that
Oh,
I,
you-
I,
oh,
I
sorry,
like Vice Chair.
Vice
to
Chair.
present.
So, okay, so you.
Yeah, so I'm
you
sorry
work that
about
out? Yeah, okay, cool.
you're gonna be gone for the May meeting. Are you out of town for the least 2 weeks?
I'm out of the country
For how long?
from
So
May
29th.
6th to, the 29th of May,
Ooh, gee, okay.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay, so I asked that because if we as staff are gonna put something together, because I do, like I said, I'm throwing ideas of how we utilize the wheel and our giveaways and things like that. If I put something together, I'd like to run it by you before you leave town.
sure, absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, just let me know what
But we just need to
you're,
get the information before May
Yeah.
6th.
so I'm not going anywhere before then.
Okay,
Okay, so just to recap, so all of us need to send Casey and copy Director Hernandez, with our notes and suggestions.
I'm not gonna look at it.
Okay, don't copy, don't send
Just
it
send it to
off.
Casey.
Okay, just send it, to Casey. Okay, perfect.
And then, should I, come back to the, supporting the day, right, from 4 to 8? Do you want me to send out a proposed schedule?
No, I think
can
everybody
work.
needs to send when they can do it.
Yeah, we'll put it together
Their ideas and their
Okay.
timing.
Okay,
Like I could do these 2 hours, I could do all 4.
that's fine.
and we'll solicit additional time if it's not enough, because there's one thing that the farmer's market, I've learned that they don't like, is if you're gonna take up a free space, you gotta use it full time.
Yeah.
Yes,
They,
yeah.
they're real touchy with that.
I will plan on being there the whole time,
Okay,
just so you know.
Okay, and that's great.
You can plan on like 2-hour shifts.
yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if we don't use the time, it doesn't mean that somebody has to be there. One person,
Right.
I'm just saying.
I don't mind.
Use it.
Okay. And I can say that we have a standee, that we can have, and, that's getting updated. And then also we will have a brochure. In fact, at the May meeting, the plan is to have a mock-up of the brochure that Director Hernandez and I will have already worked on. And he will have had staff feedbacks present to the commission for feedback. So I'll email it to you in case if you're in the world and have access. You can-
So I will be checking the email.
Oh, you won't, okay.
So if there's a 9-hour time difference, where I'm going to be
Yeah.
to here, then so I'll be checking and then, if necessary,
Yeah.
I can call in or
Okay, yeah,
something.
I'm sure it'll work out, yeah,
Yeah.
we got you.
Therefore, in terms of this concept of having our, whatever we end up doing, have some, in some cases, relevance to the work plan. What would it take to, can we get the 2025 work plan posted to the website?
I'm sorry.
Can we get the 2025 work plan posted to the website?
The city's park website?
Yeah.
I didn't realize I hadn't updated that. I'll do that. I can do that tomorrow.
Well, let me tell you where I went. You tell me if that's the wrong place.
Okay.
Just went to the park page.
The landing page.
And
Yeah.
then the work plan is there, it's the 2024 one.
Great, I'll put the new one up.
Okay. Awesome, thanks.
Great. All right, well, I think we're done. All right, any other final comments, thoughts? All right, so let's move on to the next agenda item, the 2025 public art budget, and I will turn it over to Director Hernandez.
Sure, so what staff is doing here is I want to, and this is somewhat new to me too with the public art budget. There are funds, available still in the public art, it's my understanding we still have those available to use, by approval of the budget. And once that budget's approved by council, which will be coming up in June, we'll have their approval. Whatever amount that we are proposing as a commission to council and that gets approved, then this commission will decide where that goes during the year for the items that we usually lay out as an itemized list for that budget. So last year I had budgeted, I think I had informed everyone that I had budgeted, I believe it was $126,000 last year. But that was in anticipation of some kind of commissioning for, the painting of the steps. That was also for some of the maintenance, and that was just a general idea of the maintenance. Well, we found out last year that two sculptures took up most of that budget anyway. We still had budget available for that project, but that didn't happen as we
You're
saw.
talking about the repair of the.
Yes, the
Yeah,
repair of those two that cost us $70,000.
yeah, right, exactly.
So with that, that's how I assembled the budget. It still worked out. I believe I included a budget update for this fiscal year, just to give you an example. It was 128,000, and currently we've spent 82 on the year. Some of that money goes to supplies for our art gallery here, as well as any fees or anything that we have to put on for the cafe system. Knowing all of that, we are trying to assemble, or I'm trying to assemble with your assistance, next year's budget. Next fiscal year, which starts July 1st. 25, 26. So with that, I have just some general things, and I did not put that in the report or any attachment in the report because it's more of a discussion. This is just the starting point. To random sculpture repair maintenance, I don't believe there's anything out there, and looking at some of the lists that we have, sculptures that it can cost us as much as it did last year, but I'm just budgeting for two at about $60,000 just in case. Now that can be broken up to other little paintings and other smaller ones, so we can do maybe 10 smaller repairs, maintenance. But I'm just saying that's kind of the general, that should cover two emergency repairs for major sculptures. So I have 60,000 as a start. Art Without Walls, 2-year agreements. We're Chair Corrigan, sorry, I was looking at you.
That's okay, we don't take offense for that.
Chair Corrigan has put together a list, and her and I have discussed that we will have to replace some of the sculptures that have been removed already. And through the Art Without Walls, that program is still listed at $1,500. I've allotted in my general budget of 7 of those replacements because some of them are already empty, and yet some of them I know are ending soon.
7 replacements each at 1,500,
At 1,500, yes.
and that's the stipend?
1,500 is the
Yeah,
stipend,
that's
2-year, yeah, 2-year agreement for that. And then I added an additional 3,000 for various arts and the subscription, various art supplies and subscription that I discussed, and for the call for art. And I've estimated right now about $73,500 for next year's budget. So that's what I would take forward. But I want to bring that, those are real general estimates on what could happen next year. I'm not sure if there's any projects that have been discussed in previously with the Art Commission that may have come to light now. We can talk about that, and it could be an out years as well. And any input from the commission as a whole for Parks and Arts of things that I may not have accounted for that we may want to think about this year. And with that, that's the end of my report, looking for input.
So I have some input, so I did a spreadsheet, going around and looking at, everything that we have. Number 1, is these items to the right-hand column, they all need to be power washed. Shlama is very dirty. It needs a heavy power wash. Space Dance for Peace, it needs cleaning, but also, the trees are down, so you can't really see it very well. So the trees need to be skirted up.
And the only other thing is Mother Hen's plaque, it has a dent in it. I don't know if you care about that or not. I put it off to the side, Manny, on the right to the side. And then, the wood blocks on, Rosita Park, Joyful Rhythms, that probably needs to go. The paint is so bad. I mean, the wood is all peeled. It looks really bad.
Where the spreadsheet is that? I'm sorry.
To the right, on the right column,
Oh,
I
see.
have all the ones, that's all the
So when
sculptures that
when you
need,
say needs to be paint, you think it may need to actually be retired?
yes.
Although I.
She likes it,
love
but
that sculpture, and it's,
It's so bad.
it's, the wood is peeling, it's true, it needs to be repaired or replaced, but that's, just so everyone knows, that's an Adrian Littman sculpture,
Yeah,
so. I mean,
it'd be nice if he could still have it there, if he's okay with having it there. Do I have what?
The brochure. Mandy?
No, I
Look at
don't.
I don't have these all memorized.
I did not see Adrian Whitman's name on here. I'm trying to,
Because-
I'm trying to
because-
identify what
So
you're.
go to Rosita Park, in the middle
I
of
was
this
doing-
location, go to Rosita Park. It was Dragonfly, that's gone, it's now the wood blocks,
Oh,
which to
okay.
the right says Joyful Rhythms, that's,
Thank you.
and I didn't change the author's name because this is an old spreadsheet that I work off and I didn't have time to
Okay,
redo my
I just
Excel
wanted to
spreadsheet.
figure out why.
So I don't think, that's maybe 2 days of power washing, Manny, maybe.
It
So
it
you
would
gotta
probably
figure out-
contracted, yeah, it would
You
probably.
gotta figure out how much that would be.
Sure.
And then the only other thing is, there were a few, dancing birds, we're waiting for the artist to move it. I don't know if that is gonna get done or
oh,
not.
you're talking about that once you haven't been installed,
Yeah,
to be installed.
Yes.
we were waiting on the fire chief to, agree to have tolling of the bell. But we haven't heard back from the fire chief. We don't know if the fire chief actually can contact him. We could easily contact the fire chief if you want us to. And butterflies in the park, we don't know where that's going.
Was that the one that was going to originally go on the Lacey side?
Mm-hmm,
Okay,
yeah. And
so
then-
that's on hold.
Well, I don't really know.
I don't believe it's on hold anymore. My memory isn't certain
The
about
artist doesn't want
it.
it.
The artist, well, I talked to the artist like last year about that, saying it's not gonna happen.
Artist
That
doesn't.
location, we could possibly look for another location, but I
Okay,
think
so-
they're pulling back on
So we'll take butterflies and the
We'll
park
just
off.
take
it.
butterflies
Probably.
off.
Okay, all right.
And then
Can we
magnify,
confirm that? Can we,
He
because
just
you
did.
said
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean, unless we have another proposal, he's gone,
yeah.
Okay.
he's gone.
And then magnify, we still need a concrete pad at Grant Park, but I think we're waiting on that because of all the stuff that's going on at Grant Park.
Yeah. Where is that? Concrete
That's,
pad gonna go?
I don't have it on my list, that's just on my
Oh,
notes,
okay, okay.
that's on my notes. And I can,
Gonna go
Because there's
with-
concrete pads available right now, I just need to know how big. Because I just got,
84-inch. The piece is 84 inches tall by 36 inches wide by 2 inches deep. I don't know how.
what's the base,
Yeah.
though, yeah. But yeah, I think I wanna say, who was it that contacted me? Something about turtle. Something,
Oh, the turtle's up. The sea
compass
turtle,
turtle,
sorry,
somebody reached out though, they went back.
Okay, to Joe.
they want the,
Somebody wants to buy the turtle?
No, I thought it was the person at the bottom.
the compass turtle
Yeah.
at Grant Park. She wants that back.
Yeah, I think
Well, that
it's,
doesn't surprise me because we've had it there since,
2017?
no, that was a different one.
that's a
That
different one.
was, yeah.
We've
That was
had that there,
That was
we've
the
had
date
that
of the
there for at
previous
least 2
sculpture.
years.
Yeah.
And she wants
I
that
think,
back.
I think the 2 years is up,
Okay.
so
So-
I have not reached out there, she just sent me an email. I'm like,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, so that would impact the.
So that'd be
first.
another, but now there's another category.
So I should not put, we should not put that in the brochure then, or do we?
I don't know, I need to reach out.
Okay,
Because
okay.
you sent me an email yesterday.
Well, I'll get you the mock and we can
Yeah.
talk about it.
when we start.
Okay,
So that means Grant Park will have, if she does want it back, Grant Park will have 0 hour limit.
No, we might
I
be
mean,
able
not
to,
Grant Park,
we might be
Heritage
able,
Park.
we might be able to put magnify there.
Grant Park has fluoride.
Yeah, sorry, I meant.
I got that, but you're right, yeah.
I was thinking the turtle at Heritage, sorry.
And we're also, we don't have the dog at Grant Park anymore either.
It's sad,
It's gone.
broke my heart.
Where is it?
They took it.
It had to go back because all the stones were coming off.
Stop too. I don't know, what's that?
The little kids,
I just thought our painted stones are gone too. Are they? The painted stones are on the base,
They're
all
gone,
they're all gone.
they're all gone.
Yeah.
I know, it was,
Oh, and Manny, on one more thing, on the Veterans Memorial Cradle. I think that might be some paint on that, so you might have them check.
Like vandalism paint?
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me, and then it looked like somebody tried to rub it off. It's like gray and pink and purple.
didn't you say the Rotary was gonna take care of that?
Well, Rotary told me they were doing that a long time ago, but they haven't been taking care of that at all.
Rotary, yeah,
They haven't been taking care of
they're
it.
not responsible.
I know they're not, but they,
We used to.
he told
have-
me they were doing it, and I'm like, no, you're not.
We used to have a fund, the city used to have a fund, it was a donation for about $18,000 to do, repairs, on that statue.
Got
We utilized
We
that.
used
It
it all.
only cost, like $2,000 a year to actually power wash and refinish it. We had a professional come in and do that. However, as slowly as that money was going down over the years, the bulk of it got taken up for the redoing of the area around it, putting that
Yes, right.
marble pedestal. I worked with,
Right.
this,
And the big plaque,
veterans group, yeah, to get that done.
that plaque is really nice.
Yeah, so we finally
Yeah.
worked it out, and so that money's gone now.
Got it.
So now we're just getting power washed each year, we're not getting refinished, but that may be something, I know it's like $2,000, okay?
I
So-
think it can be power washed off because I had my, I was able to get some of it off with my nail.
Oh.
So I think it can come off. Everything else I was able to get off.
We
with my
usually
nail.
come around, that may have happened in the last 10 months, because we usually come around on 4th of July. So right before 4th of July, because it's in the park,
Good.
we usually do the power washing, and we've done it for the last 2 years, because that's when the money ran out. But maybe we should spend the money, and that could be added to the
Cool.
budget.
When you said the $18,000 of donation, was that from Rotary?
No, it was from I don't know the donor, it was there before I even started in post office.
Awesome.
I have a question that's, you may not even, I wouldn't expect you to know the answer off the top of your head, but, we looked for dancers, which is a sculpture that the city owns, and it's supposed to be at Grant Road and St. Joseph Avenue, and we couldn't
I
find
could
it.
not find it
And I'm wondering if it's,
somewhere
I
else.
can't imagine it's stolen, because it'd be hard to steal it. But do you want me to show you a picture of it?
Sure,
And it's bronze, it would be hard to take away.
that's at St. Joe's, so it's like, yeah, no, I don't know. I'm just trying-
Don't think of.
We
I've seen it,
went
no,
all,
I could- I've
we
seen it.
went all the way down St. Joseph's, all the way down Grant Road, all the way down Foot Expressway. We could not find it anywhere.
Okay, I'll look in the records, because of that, was that on loan, or was that owned?
We're
No, we
It was
supposedly
donated.
own it.
donated to the city by the artist in 2013. Maybe somebody bought it. Okay.
Yeah, maybe we pulled it
It's,
down.
it's on
Yeah,
this list.
could be.
Yeah, well, because you pulled Walter Singer down for a while, so.
Yeah, Walter Singer was stored for
But
a
now
while.
he's at
The
Chamber.
llamas are stored for a while, like.
Yeah,
trying to figure out
okay,
what
cool.
it is.
Thank you,
Okay, we'll
man.
take a look.
What
Yeah,
are they, llamas?
The llamas, like the library.
Oh, right.
Really?
Do you, by any chance know, if, I didn't look today to see if Zooscapes is back at the Zooscapes.
That's the one.
Oh, they're back. Oh.
Yeah, the zooscapes, those are the llamas, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
So we, just to give you something on that, I know we're kind of a little bit off of the
Yeah.
budget, but still kind of on the budget.
Okay.
Those were redone because they were put outside of the library looking into the kids' room. And we sent them to, Preservation Arts.
Yeah.
They refinished them, redid everything, then chewed me out for it. Said those are not supposed to be outside. what are you doing putting them outside? They're obviously we're outside.
Well,
And I said, okay, I just
No one told us.
got this job.
And you handed
As the Arts Commission liaison, so I didn't know that, so I don't know that I updated the commission on that, so we have had them for a couple of months now.
Okay.
They returned it to us all fixed up, but two things, one is we need to consider putting them back there outside again,
Okay.
okay, which may not be the best of ideas. And the other thing is how to mount them, because my crews realized that if you push them hard enough, they're just gonna fall right over. They weren't mounted to the ground because of the material that they're made out of. It's hard to bolt anything into them or strap them or anything because it's so delicate. It's a delicate thing. But we also don't want kids climbing on it and then falling over and hurting themselves. So
Wow.
we're trying to figure out a solution for that while keeping them indoors, or maybe we just put them outdoors. But we do need a place to mount them since it's in the public. So
The new patio.
we thought of
That's
a
not
lot.
gonna be, that's not gonna be indoors, that's gonna be outdoors.
Okay, we-
But if it's covered, it may be a better option, but we
Okay.
still need to mount it.
Yeah,
We figure
yeah,
out-
so, okay, so that's TBD.
So TBD, I'll inform everybody, my crews have gone through all kinds of scenarios of how to mount them. But we've come up with nothing.
Okay, great.
But with all that information, thank you for updating this. And that gives me enough, I feel pretty confident in the fact that if we're budgeting $60,000 for two major
You're gonna be fine.
sculptures, it doesn't look like there's any major work that needs to
No,
be
there's
done, and
not.
that should be plenty of money to get us through the maintenance program for next year.
Cool.
Are there any other comments or ideas that this commission has?
you can get sculptures for 30K,
I'm sorry?
you can get sculptures for 30K?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can pay any amount you want. So.
So the Art Without Walls, it's the stipend that they get
That's the
paid. So
long
we have 7 spaces available.
We're budgeting, I think there might be more or less than 7. I'm just
Okay.
Budgeting for 7, because
Okay.
I know some of the spaces, I don't think there's actually 7 available right now, but there are some that I know their contracts are ending.
Yeah, it
They'll
looks
be
like
gone.
we're losing.
Yeah, they'll be gone.
And then, so tell me what the 73,500 was, sorry,
60,000 for 2 sculptures of either maintenance or purchase,
okay,
10,500 for the 7 stipends, and an extra $3,000 for the subscriptions and supplies for the gallery.
okay, and then the cleaning, that's my concern, every time I go
That's
around
in the
and I see
60,000.
it. Okay, that, I mean, for the amount of sculptures that need to be cleaned, is that?
It's just
realistic?
power washing,
This is about.
it's no big deal.
So it's funny, I've brought this up before, and it was in that letter to the email test, is that sculpture at Grant and Fremont, is that a power wash? I mean, I've been tempted to just go out with a bucket and start washing.
No, you can't.
I know, but
You
I
don't
mean,
have a
it's
wire brush,
filthy.
it's dirty. Yeah, but I used my nails and I was able to scrape off those, moldy.
So it's my
Okay.
understanding, and the former, Commissioner can help me. It's my understanding that if they're on loan, though, we have to be delicate and selective on what we do.
Yes,
If we own it, we can power, it.
Yes.
we go crazy, we pay it. But if it's on loan, we're not usually gonna touch it.
we can't have it without permission.
We have to call the artist to
Yeah.
come and maintain their sculpture.
So maybe we need a separate list of what we own and a separate
No,
list
the
of.
only one that's
It's listed there.
alone is Warthogs
That's the only loan?
that needs cleaning.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. And is that like almost expired?
They
or
own
expired?
Serengeti, is we own it. They own Serengeti, if that's the work on when the city's owned that since 2023. That could be because your list is.
Oh, that
older.
my list
Yeah.
is over.
Okay, the Day on Serengeti, the city owns.
Oh, okay.
Convolute on Square, which is the one that you were talking about, was that one city owns as well.
Yes, and it needs.
It definitely does. Yeah,
So everything that needs cleaning, we own.
yeah.
Yeah,
Big
it
metal,
needs.
yeah.
Oh.
And
So I wanna make sure there's
That works.
enough money to do that, because that's not
Yeah.
okay, in my opinion, to treat artwork like that.
Agreed. I mean, worst case scenario, we can go out there.
I'm on it.
Clean it.
I mean, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And the only thing I would like to point out is that Convolute on Square was the subject of the public comment letter that we received from,
white.
the Little White. Yeah, I just want to mention that we are addressing residents' concern, and we're going to try to fix it.
Good.
Okay, anything else?
There's 14 sculptures that need to be cleaned. If they do 3 a day, that's 1 week. They should be able to do 3 a day. I'm sure they can do probably most of them in 1 day.
Well, you said it'd be.
Once again, we're just budgeting for
Yeah,
it. We won't be able to touch
Yeah,
anything
no, I
until
know,
after
but I'm
July
just
1st.
saying, money wise,
I think what we have is adequate unless you feel otherwise, if you can budget more or less, but once again, remember, we are not, because of certain litigation that's out there on charging art fees for, development, there, we are not, accruing any more funding right now at this point for the arts fund, so it is finite at this point, which I believe it's somewhere in the 315, 325. Don't quote me on that, but it's in that range of what's available. And then once that's gone, it's gone if we don't start accruing more. So we do want to be a little bit, and once again, I will say as well, which I've said in past meetings, just because we set the budget and they approve it, that's part of the budget process. And when the council approves it, then we have access for the things we've listed. However, if something else comes up, that is something we can still take to them as a one-off. If, oh, you know what, we had this idea, we want to paint a mural on the side of the new, generator that's out here on this campus. And it's gonna cost us $40,000, whatever it is. You can take that to council separately. So you're not bound by this.
Anything further?
I need to bring. this
Okay.
up. I'm almost afraid to, and maybe it's a future agenda item. The council stairs where, for the budget,
that's
It's
dead.
not,
That's dead.
there's nothing.
it's good.
Dead.
Okay.
Evidently, nobody thinks it's ugly.
Okay, anything further? I think we're ready to move on.
That's it. Okay,
Thank you very
so
much, everyone. So we'll move on to informational items.
I'll cut. I'm not sure if any other subcommittee, excuse me, I'll say that word. Any of the, working pairs have anything to say, yeah. But I will start. Okay, it's that first. Family Fun Day recap, you wanna do that?
Yeah, there were approximately 300 guests
Oh.
around this time, which is a little bit fewer than usual, but we did have, a specific room that was for, kind of people with sensory issues, so it was like a lower key, quieter room. And that's something that we are likely going to consider continuing in the future. It seemed to be pretty popular. And overall, the event was, very fun. And so the next one is scheduled in June.
I think I visited that, and I have to say kudos to Commissioner Morse for representing us really well in this room, which was completely transformed. So it was really fun, but, and a lot of kids,
Yes.
a lot of kids.
Also on the, updates are the next event, Spring ACON, April 19th.
Okay.
So that's actually coming up this
That's
weekend,
Saturday.
yeah. So and that's the usual event that we have here, I think, many of you are familiar. If not, come on, you can check it out. If you're not already volunteering. You are. And then I just wanted to make everybody aware that the call for art for the gallery is already posted. So that's where
Thank you.
it's right now. And then we'll probably purchase the lettering for this window too, because I know that hasn't changed. I think it still says public art. So, so we'll update that, and I think that's all that has.
There's a link that I think is not working on the call art.
On the call to art page. that was-
Yes, I can't remember which link, I'm sorry.
That's fine. I can go.
Okay.
Okay, are you finished?
That's it.
Okay, great. So moving on to the next item, commission, subcommittee, staff or reports, anyone? No? Request for future agenda items.
For the subcommittee stuff, I will start working on mine now that I'm done with the dog park. And the future agenda for me would be, the way that we can work with staff for the family funding. So I'd like to get that on there so that I can report out what I know. So, that would be May. I will be attending the meeting via Zoom in May. Okay. I'm out of the state.
How does that work with our quorum?
Yeah, does that work?
She
Because
just has to put her address in.
I already did, I provided it.
No?
No,
I don't do that anymore.
You can't do that.
Oh, no.
I can't do remote.
You can do remote, that's fine, but
You
it
just
doesn't
can't
create a
count the
quorum.
Right. That's what I'm afraid of.
Are you sure you're going on this?
Positive that my
And
ticket.
you're sure you're going?
He's gone.
He's like out of the country for 3 weeks.
Oh my
Wait,
gosh, you guys, I'm so sorry.
can you guys appoint a new commissioner?
Thanks a lot.
At large.
I'm serious, this is important. Oh, no.
I can't.
Can we change the date?
What are you gonna call a special
Well,
meeting?
it's canceled if you're not, there's no reason. to
Let's
do
call a
that.
special meeting.
So there
I'm
could
all-
be a special meeting.
That's yes, that's a yes.
Let's do it. Can everybody do the sixth? It'd be a Tuesday.
May.
The only issue is,
I can't.
Oh, I can't.
Let me-
You'll already be gone.
Okay,
It's not, we can't do this, it's not on the agenda.
sorry, okay.
So we can't do this, but let staff reach out because, once again, I go back to when this commission was first formed. We went on Tuesdays.
Yeah, that's why I said Tuesday.
Special
I'm
meeting.
so sorry.
If you do special meetings and you try to do it on the same day, a Tuesday, you're running into council, bookend.
Right.
Does it
I'm so
personally
sorry.
have to be the same day?
Doesn't necessarily have to be the same day, but it's harder to work with it. So we're limited now to either the last Tuesday, if there is a fourth Tuesday, which I believe is fourth Tuesday anyway. But we will talk about that. We can't talk about that as agenda item, but let's target some things. Staff will send out some
So
options.
Casey, you're gonna send out
Yeah.
emails for
Yeah.
that?
We will send out some,
I'm so sorry.
it's okay,
So
we'll send out.
We're
some
gonna have to
things.
coordinate our trips from
so
now
we have to
on.
cancel the.
I
next
am
one.
going to cancel the May meeting as
Regular.
it stands, the regular meeting, and then Manny and I will send out
Send out a
some.
big doodle.
First option for the public, for staff, and for the commission is to do it on the same day of the week.
Yes.
But we only have one option right now, because council meeting on the 2 days. So, and I'll have to look at that, because in May, there's a lot of budget special meetings too, so we'll see.
We'll, yeah.
We will reach out once they're.
Are we talking about that thing, the 27th?
Yeah.
As
That's
the,
a council.
he's still gone, so does that give us a quorum?
Second, fourth, well, actually, I'm sorry, it would be the first meeting in May. It's,
All right.
let's look
Okay.
at,
We'll figure it out.
because it may not even fall on a Tuesday, but we have to
Okay.
work it out.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Everybody.
So when are you gone?
I'm gone the week of the 12th, so the.
May 12th.
Wait, the meeting on the 20th, our park meeting's on the 20th.
Yeah, so you're gone that week,
So the
I'm
19th.
gone, yeah.
May 18th through the 24th, so maybe the last week.
For the
That's
council.
council
She's
meeting.
right.
We'll figure- Okay, all right.
Second, first, so we need to look at
Okay,
it.
we have to go another day.
Okay,
So, and then.
But I still say, we have a problem, is if he's out of the country, that leaves 4 of us, is that a quorum?
Yeah,
That's
of
four.
course. it's
Okay.
fine.
4 of 7 is.
And I think coordinating schedule on those 4 people is totally doable.
yeah.
But once again, like I said, you need to coordinate with staff.
Yeah.
Because we.
Yes,
need
of
to
course.
Dang.
Oh, we
And
just go
facility.
rogue
And
and
facility, we can't do it on a Monday because we have 3 other commissions that meet on Mondays,
we do it
so on
on
and so
Thursday.
forth. We'll see.
Okay, roll them
We'll
out.
see.
We'll see.
Yeah, but council does not really want special meetings unless absolutely necessary. So you and I are gonna have to talk about, is it necessary that we meet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if it's absolutely necessary, then yes, call special meeting.
Yeah.
If there's really nothing that can't be done email wise, like
Yeah.
updating who's gonna show up to the farmer's market, then maybe it doesn't need to be done.
Yeah, we're gonna do it,
Because we did a lot today.
we didn't establish what we're doing.
But like I said, if we can't
Okay,
do it, for-
okay.
maybe it's not.
So I just want to thank everyone for a fantastic meeting and all your contributions, really productive. Does anyone have anything further? If not, then I think we can adjourn the meeting today at 7:48.
Thank you.